Oh, looks like we just had a mistake there. How about that? Good stuff. All right, welcome in everybody here to the flagship football show, take 2 right there. I'm Jake Evans here alongside Land Teller, and we are presented to you by the Rebel Walk, where we are positively Ole Miss. We're excited to be here today. A lot of news going on around Oxford. It's been a big week, some ups and some downs, probably more downs than ups, I would say. But we'll get into all that here in a minute. Before we get going, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please drop a 5-star review, or I guess whatever you feel like we deserve. Preferably 5 stars. That would be much appreciated. Show your support. Tell us how much you love us, and thank you for tuning in. We also want to give a shout out to Mark Rogers, the voice of college football. Mark does a great job on his college football channel covering everything from the Big Ten, SEC, ACC, everything across the country. Mark does fantastic work, so we want to give a shout out to him. You can find him on Twitter and YouTube at Mark Rogers TV. Go subscribe to him. The guy's got some good stuff. He's got some good stuff all across college football. And then one more, we want to give a shout out to Stephen Willis over at Willis Digital Media. We've partnered with Stephen and Willis Digital Media in the last couple of weeks, and we're excited to be bringing you a lot of good, exciting video content here for the rest of the season, and going forward. That'll be game reactions, instant reactions after series, recaps, the whole 9 yards. Doing that with his Palmcast show. So we're very excited to be doing that with Stephen. So go and check him out. He is now with us at the Rebel Walk, so we're very excited there. All right, so as I said, welcome in, everybody. I'm Jake Evans alongside Land Teller here. Michael Spears is MIA this week. Baseball, again, takes another victim. He's got a busy schedule, busier than most right now because he obviously is a manager for the team. So we're sorry to be missing Michael this weekend because it would have been great to have him as the Rebels are heading into the first week of SEC play this week. Auburn's coming to town for a 3-game series, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But we'll catch up with Michael next week, hopefully get some good insight going forward after hopefully a big sweep versus Auburn. So let's get rolling here. The first, probably the biggest news that, that's come out of Oxford here in the last week, Selection Sunday came and went, and the Rebels were snubbed. The Rebels did not hear their name called on Sunday after beating South Carolina and then losing to LSU in the second round of the SEC tournament. Most people said that the Rebels needed to beat LSU, and if they won those 2 games, that was probably going to be enough. Sadly, we didn't get to see that be the case. And as I said, the Rebels were snubbed. A lot of people, me included, think that the Rebels should have been in. Just to put it bluntly, I think that the Rebels were a tournament team this year. I think that while they had their struggles along the way and some bad losses to a Vanderbilt and a Mississippi State team, especially there at the end, I think overall this was a tournament team. They ended the season playing as well as anybody, it seemed like this was a tournament team. Would you agree with that, or what do you think?
Yeah. So my stance on it is probably unpopular. I mean, in my head, we had every opportunity to make the tournament, and we just didn't do it. That was what we had to do. You had to beat South Carolina, and you had to beat LSU. You beat both of those, and you're in. And we played really well against LSU. It was a fun game to watch, but, in the end, LSU's a really good team. I don't really fault us for that. I feel like we played about as good as we could. But here's the problem. You cannot lose to Vanderbilt, and you cannot lose to Mississippi State. You had your destiny in your hands. You're beating top 10 teams left and right. You had every opportunity. We controlled our own destiny, and we just didn't do enough to get it done. And the unfortunate truth is that, that came back and bit us in the bottom. We had, of course, some things could have gone our way. A team could have gotten COVID, or a team could have lost, But, and here's the thing. Everything went in our favor after our losses. We had certain teams lose. They gave us a real opportunity.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, didn't get the chance to play in March, but, a really great way to end the season, to be honest with you. Like we've harped on multiple times. We pretty much gave up on this team. This team was dead in the water, and then all of a sudden,
something clicked.
Yeah,
something clicked
like Superman in Justice League.
Pretty much,
he was resurrected, and similar to this team.
Yeah. Like we said before, after probably the 3rd episode we did, we quit recording, and we just kind of looked at each other. We were like, man, I don't know if we can keep talking about basketball. This is brutal.
I was sick of it. I was so tired of watching us go 1 for 19 from 3,
Yeah.
just play, just fine defense, but just not be able to score. I mean, it was very frustrating to watch. And, in most sports, having a good defense can be entertaining. I mean, you think about the 2014 Ole Miss football team. I mean, that defense was so much fun to watch. You look at teams like, the Legion of Boom with Seahawks, it's fun. Baseball, you got great pitching, but with this basketball team, we had great defense, but it was not fun to watch.
No,
basketball's not a sport where you
don't root for a 55-50 game in basketball. You want to see somebody. You want scores in the 80s. You want to see high flying offense. I mean, that's what basketball's about nowadays. I mean, the NBA is all the proof you need. I mean, it's three
this
balls.
NBA is a lot more fun than like 2006.
Absolutely. I mean, and some people would argue that it's more fun watching like some of the bad boy Pistons teams and stuff like that. That are people.
Which, to be fair, we didn't get to see, so we don't.
Right. But that's. I mean, like I said, that's all the proof you need. It's all about scoring now. I mean, the defense is. If you're a good defensive player, I mean, you can make a career off of that now because there's so few just really, really solid.
Yeah, it's not hard to win Defensive Player of the Year. You just kind of show up like 60% of the time.
Kind of keep your hands up and
you get a block here and there, and like boom, they'll give it to you.
It's not much, but so as we said, I really think the Rebels got snubbed this year. I mean, so they finished the season winning 8 of 11. They finished with a 16-11 record, which that's not terribly impressive. But like I said, the way they finished the season was kind of all the evidence you needed, and really that's one of the big things that this committee looks for a lot of times is how teams are finishing the season, how they're playing when March rolls around. Honestly, that was one of the reasons I'll pick a team off the top of my head. Missouri. It frustrated me that Missouri made the tournament because they wrote a solid ranking throughout the season. The Rebels beat them ranked twice, and when it comes down to it, Missouri, their resume is not impressive. It's just not.
Well, you can look at Missouri as kind of the opposite of Ole Miss, if you will, the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
So Ole Miss was really cold at the beginning of the year, and then we heated up at the end. While Missouri was really hot at the beginning of the year, top 10 team, probably the second best team in the SEC at one point, and then they really just kind of hit a rut. I mean, the thing is, though, is that, they were number 10 at one point. I think the committee likes that. I mean, they were really – look, they're still a pretty good basketball team. Now, do I pick them beating Oklahoma? No, I don't. But, I think that they were good enough at the beginning of the season for them to get the nod. The 9 seed feels
generous, very.
Yeah, I guess. That's kind of where you would put them, though. Because, what do you can put like a St. Bonaventure above them or like a UMSB or UCSB, whatever.
UMBC, the 16 who beat Virginia a couple years ago. Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't know. Anyway. I think it's University of California, Santa Barbara. They've got they're playing. I'll
tell you right
now.
I want
to play they're playing Creighton. I'm pretty sure.
They're playing Creighton.
Yeah.
5-12 game. Yeah. So, well, and a couple other little nuggets here that kind of should have pointed to the Rebels being in the tournament. So, Ole Miss and Louisville were the first Power 5 teams in the history of the NCAA tournament with at least 7 quad 1 and 2 wins to be left out of the field. That one right there, you can hang your hat on that right there and say that number alone should have got that 7 quad 1 and 2 wins should have got the Rebels in it. You also look at it, the Rebels they were the only team in the Power 5 this year to have to be 2 games above 500 in conference play and be left out of the field.
No, they're the only team in Power 5 to be above 500.
Be above? Yeah. So it's incredibly frustrating because, they checked all the boxes that they needed to check. It's just you keep coming back to that Mississippi State and that Vanderbilt loss because those just seem to be the ones that really killed you. Because we were saying before, maybe you only win one of those 2 games. Maybe you still lose to Vanderbilt or maybe still lose to Mississippi State, and maybe the season still ends with a loss to LSU. But at that point, you still might even get in at 17-10 with an 11-7 SEC record.
To be real honest with you, I 100% think that we would get in. But that's the thing. Here's the problem with our team this year. Yes, we have all these amazing stats. We're the only team with this, that, and the other. That's true. But the problem is that we've had some really great wins and we've had some really bad losses.
That's been
Georgia looks bad. Obviously Vanderbilt State, you cannot lose those. Like that is
when we were I think probably 5 or 6 games out for the rest of the season, and we were saying, look, here we go. And this was when the Rebels had won a few in a row. We were saying, look, the hardest part of their schedule is over.
Yeah,
they're cruising the rest of the way out with 2 Vanderbilt games.
We were allowed a loss in
Right.
that stretch, but
Right.
everybody thought it was going to be a come up. Like we thought we were going to lose to Missouri the second time,
Mhm.
but instead we're riding high, and then we just drop an egg against Mississippi State, and we
And
bounce
we
back.
get smacked.
Yeah,
at home.
it was no fun. It was
No.
awful. And then we come back. I don't know why I watched the game here, so I guess that's why I was like referencing
Like over there. I'm like,
yeah. Like then we played a ranked Missouri team again, and we beat them. And then we turn around, and then we get, pardon my French, get our asses handed to us by Vanderbilt, a team that not a week later we were beating by 25 in the second half
on their own floor.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like it's like all these great things that we would do. It's like we would take 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Exactly. That's
the
a perfect
problem,
way to
and that's why Ole Miss is on the outside looking in. And like, here's the thing: like, yay, we're in the NIT. Nobody cares about the NIT. Like, Louisville's not even playing. Like, here's the thing: good teams look at the NIT and go, "We're not even going to waste our time."
Yeah.
Like Louisville, who is a consistent tournament team, had a bad year. Just about every blue collar team in the league this year. They had a bad year. They got it by the NIT. They said no thanks.
Yeah,
we're above that.
So
Mississippi State's women's team is in the NIT for women's, and they're not playing either because they're like, we don't need.
I mean, they've consistently been competing for national championships.
Yeah, and so like, why would you? So that's the thing is, you can look at it as like, well, who are playing extra basketball, but really like,
well, so you know, some people look at it and go, the Rebels are the top seed in the NIT tournament for the first time in program history. That is fantastic. We're fired up. All that means is you're the 69th best team in the eyes of the people that matter most.
Right.
That's all it means. I mean, and the thing that really just drives me crazy is when you look at it, Ole Miss finishes the year with a net ranking of 53 and a BPI of 40.
Yeah.
I was looking at that list earlier. I'm not going to read through the names of the teams that were below Ole Miss in those 2 categories that made the tournament because it's going to drive me up the wall if I do. But there was a handful of teams in both of those categories that were below Ole Miss that are playing, you know, March Madness.
And I wonder how much of that's an eye test. You know, like I feel like so much. Like I mean, good Lord, when I'm sitting down and picking my brackets, it's such an eye test. Like I hit the little button and I look at all the different things. Like you wonder if these teams are like, yeah, but they're averaging 81 points per game.
So one of the ones, for example. So we were talking about this right before we went on. Villanova Winthrop, 5-12 game. Villanova's the 5 seed. Won the national championship 2 years ago.
They went almost every year.
I mean, they played great basketball the last few years. Been one of the best programs in the country. Playing Winthrop, you look at that game. I don't even know where Winthrop is. If you had a gun to my head and said,
I'm going to say Massachusetts.
That's probably a
Can
good
I
guess.
check that?
Go for it. Yeah, go for it. Because, you know, like we said, the eye test, you look at that, most people go, yeah, Villanova, 100%, they're going to beat Winthrop. Who is Winthrop? Well, and I'm not saying that Winthrop is 100% going to win that game, but I picked Winthrop. Villanova's point guard is out for the tournament. And that's one of those ones.
It's in South Carolina.
How about that?
I was so very wrong.
Very, very far off. That sounds like a Massachusetts name. But
I felt really good about it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's half the struggle. I mean, that's why nobody's made it perfect. That's why nobody's ever picked a perfect bracket before. I mean, here's another one, for example. You look at Kansas versus Eastern Washington. Eastern Washington might be a really damn good team, and they might win that game. Who's going to pick Eastern Washington over Kansas, though?
I'll be honest, I never pick Kansas, ever.
They seem to be one of the ones that consistently play out.
Now, okay, to be fair, I gave Kansas the benefit of the doubt for the first game, but I looking at your bracket, I picked USC all the way. Kansas is the worst March team in the last 20 years.
And that's one of the, I mean,
they have not done what, like, Kansas is always supposed to be one of the best teams in the country, and they always just are not that good.
Well, and that's what's so interesting about this year. Gonzaga is one of the worst March teams.
Yeah,
Gonzaga comes in.
They got to prove it to me.
Gonzaga almost every year is one of those top couple of 1, 2, 3, something like that go, and we've talked about them like 4 times, and I still haven't looked up what conference they're in. They play out there in whatever conference that is, and they absolutely whoop up on everybody. And then they get to March, and whether they just stumble and play a bad game or they're really not that good, it doesn't matter because they flake out more times than not, well before people think they should. And that's one of the things that's so interesting about this year looking at it. Gonzaga's the top seed, probably like 26-0-ish, something like that. They're undefeated, and they've won their last 23 games by double digits or more. This team is absolutely annihilating everybody they play. And so most people go, and kind of back to what you said about the eye test, it's hard to not – I mean, I can't imagine how many people end up with a Final Four that's just 1-1-1-1.
Yeah.
It's Gonzaga, Baylor. Who is it? It's Gonzaga, Baylor,
Illinois,
Michigan, and Illinois. I mean, because you look at it, and it's hard to go any other way because, most people obviously don't know anything about 65 of these teams that are in the tournament. But, Gonzaga is one of those teams where
they're in the West Coast Conference.
The West Coast Conference, interesting. Didn't know that existed.
Average like 94 points a game.
Absolutely destroyed everybody. I mean,
they should.
Yeah, rightfully so. But and that's one of the things that, like I said, is going to be so interesting about this year is to see how we've got a set of number 1 seeds that we don't normally see. Like I said, we got Gonzaga, Baylor, Illinois, and Michigan. I don't know the last time that any of them were number 1 seeds. I know for a fact Baylor's
Gonzaga has been.
Gonzaga has been.
Probably has been.
At times, yes.
Illinois, probably been a while.
Probably been a while. And I know for a fact this is the first time Baylor's ever had a 1 seed.
Sure.
And I mean, you look across the board here. You've got Alabama as a 2 seed. You've got Houston as a 2 seed. You've got who else? Iowa's a 2 seed. Ohio State's a 2 seed. So you've got a couple teams in there that are more traditional, powerhouse teams. And then you've got some weird ones. And you've got a North Carolina that's way down the board. You've got a Villanova that we talked about that's been fantastic the last few years, won national championships in recent history. They're a 5 seed. You don't have a Duke in the tournament. Kentucky had an awful year. They're not in the tournament.
Michigan State might be in the tournament. Aren't they playing in?
Are they one of the plans? Yeah.
I had a heart attack and thought
she
was Mississippi State for a second.
No,
and I was like,
they're playing it against UCLA to play BYU.
Yeah. Ooh, what a fun play it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So I mean, this has been a weird. I mean, obviously, just top to bottom, everything. Not even sports. It's just been weird the last year and a half or so. But
it's kind of cool that it's kind of been weird in sports.
It is.
That it's reflected.
Exactly. It's
kind of interesting.
It's a big shakeup all across the board in every facet of this, and it's going to make it really interesting because, like we said, a lot of these teams, it's
Arkansas.
You don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You just don't know what to do. And I'm gonna go off on a little tangent here just because I have to. Where are they? Where are the LSU Tigers? They're sitting there with an 8 seed. Okay, so I don't know what it's going to take for someone in the NCAA to do something about what's happening at LSU, but it's driving me crazy.
Well,
you've got multiple sexual assaults covered up in the last decade. All of them reported. You had the people that are supposed to take care of these things, just not following up on investigations, not contacting witnesses, and essentially sweeping it under the rug, saying this does not matter because that's Les Miles. Why would we dig up dirt on Les Miles? He's everything to us right now. You got all of those. I mean, you got things against Darius Geis. You got multiple things against him that are reported, evidence to back him up. I mean, most likely happened exactly how they were reported. Nothing happens. You got Will Wade on an FBI, on a federal wiretap, admitting to substantial impermissible payments. I can't remember the guy's first name. Smart. Guy who wears the short shorts for LSU.
Yes.
Scores 10 points against the Rebels the other day. The Rebels lose by 3. The offer was made to him on the FBI wiretap, and he is still playing, and Will Wade is still coaching. And Will Wade has one of the most punchable faces in all of college basketball. And I loved how much they talked about it this week, how much they threw up the graphic on FBI wiretap. Came out this day. He is suspended this day, reinstated this day, and here we are. He's still coaching.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy because I feel like so many people look at it because the Joe Burrow national championship year, it was all those crazy Cajuns. I mean, look at them; they're having fun down there, and oh man, Coach O, everybody loves Coach O. Joe Burrow is one of the most likable guys. Nothing on Joe Burrow, I love that dude, but everybody's looking at it like, oh, it's just those crazy Cajuns down there doing their thing. Oh, let's be happy for them, and they're the band's playing neck and all that stuff,
right.
And it's like. Ole Miss had a recruit sleep on a coach's couch, and they were flirting with the idea of the death penalty for times. I mean, you had the NCAA chasing Dante Moncrief's brother because they didn't think that he could afford the car that he was driving. I mean, it's unbelievable. The bias that showed across college sports is something that drives me crazy. And the thing is, Ole Miss, every chance that there is, seems to be getting the short straw. Man, I don't know what their problem is with Ole Miss, but they seem to have a legitimate problem.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, and trust me, I've had this conversation with my father multiple times, and this is what he always tells me, and this is the stance that I'm having to take officially. You're looking at it logically. And
that exactly.
Yeah, and the NCAA does not follow logic.
No,
the NCAA, listen, follow the money. LSU makes them millions upon millions of dollars. Why would they mess with that? Arizona, caught on a live wiretap, saying, I'm going to give you $35,000 to come play for the University of Arizona. Nothing happened. You think Michigan State with all that stuff, nothing happened.
There was a report that came out of Georgia this week. A high school coach who's been he's coached at Hoover. He's been on. They had I think it was called 3 Days or something like that. A TV show that focused on high school football a couple years ago. When he was coaching Hoover, one of those big schools in Alabama, big powerhouse, he got in trouble there. He's been in trouble at 3 different schools. Gets fired the other day. There was a recording. I don't remember all the details. There was a recording where he was basically detailing. Actually, not detailed enough for the NCAA to do anything about it, but was making some very, very credible claims discussing ways that money is being funneled to recruits from Kirby Smart, from Nick Saban, from coaches all across the SEC.
It's what's going on.
And it's one of those things where if Ole Miss was uttered in that sentence one time, you better believe the NCAA is bringing the house to Oxford as quickly as they can get here.
That's the problem with the NCAA. It is a volunteer organization, so no legal action can be done. They're essentially untouchable. And so it needs to happen, and the only way that this – but you look, places like Baylor, Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, SMU, North Carolina, all these places that have gotten hammered in the last couple of years provide no money for the NCAA. They're made examples to say, hey, Kirby Smart, act right.
Yeah.
Or so this doesn't happen.
Like they hammer an Ole Miss, SMU, whoever, like you just said. They hammer one of those teams and they go, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart,
right.
Ryan Day, Ohio State.
Yeah.
You better be careful. But when it comes down to it, if anything happens, it's a slap on the wrist at best. I mean, because
they probably like LSU did a self-imposed ban this year, and I would be willing to bet that NCAA was like, hey, you guys do this,
cool,
and we'll back off.
And we'll call it even.
We'll call it even.
And that's one of the things that we talked about it before. I think it was back before COVID happened on one of the original shows. We talked about, I really, really and truly, I see it happening in the next few years, especially with how much money is coming into college sports now through TV deals and revenue, especially with
start
with name, image, likeness coming. That's going to be just more money, hand over fist coming in. I don't think it's entirely out of the picture that within the next 10 or so years, maybe you're Alabama, maybe you're Georgia, maybe a USC, maybe a Michigan, Ohio State, say, screw the NCAA, we're doing our own thing. Because like you just said, it's a volunteer organization that holds absolutely no legal authority. It's essentially just this idea that everybody's bought into because for the most part they promote goodwill and good faith, and they've got a pretty good history of doing roughly the right thing. But all it takes is for one team to pull the plug and go, we're done with this. Yeah. We're going to go do our own thing. We're going to book.
The problem is that you're exactly right. Like that's what it's going to take. But the problem is
it's got to take somebody willing to step out and say we're going to be the example.
Why would LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, USC, all these huge moneymakers, they get away with murder? Why would they want to leave this utopia where they can do whatever the hell they want and they're not going to face any issues with it?
Absolutely.
And so that's the problem.
That's the thing. That's the thing that makes it so difficult because you can't. For example, Winthrop can't go off and do their own thing,
right?
And expect people from the SEC and Big 10, Big 12 to follow suit. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's what's just
you need an LSU to get hammered. You need an Alabama to get hammered.
Yeah.
Now you need a Georgia to get hammered. And man, to be real honest with you, I would not see it happen. No, well, with Georgia, I wouldn't be shocked.
Georgia seems to be Kirby Smart seems to be
hockey.
Georgia,
and they're really pushing it.
Kirby Smart seems to be running a loose ship over there, and they're seeing
Tennessee's about to get hammered. Like that's the thing. Like you need those teams. Like you want those teams to mess up. You want teams to be handing money over a McDonald's bag, so that you can get like that's if you want the NCAA to be disbanded, which who knows? I hope it happens. I think the NCAA is a travesty, and it infuriates me every single day. But you've got to follow the money, and you need the big boys to start being like, oh yeah, you're right. This is not good.
Right. One more little nugget I'll throw in here before we quit this rant about the NCAA. I wrote, so I had last semester I had to write a paper. Was writing on the history of the NCAA. Fun fact, I think I've shared this with you at one point. So when the NCAA was founded, it was a volunteer organization, as it still is. It was just essentially there to promote. It was essentially there to facilitate college sports back before technology and everything like that happened. It was a bunch of college presidents getting together saying, let's help this thing along because people really like this. People really like watching college football.
There's a lot of money.
Well, yes, and there's money to be made too, but people really like this. And so Walter Byers, the first full-time head of the NCAA, created the term student athlete. The term student athlete was not created to be a fun slogan to put on commercials and say, whatever.
Right.
It was created because there were so many people dying in football games in the NCAA that they made that up as a legal term so that these athletes were essentially volunteering to play football. They were students at that university volunteering to play football, not employees of the school. Basically,
Right.
There were so many.
Removed liability.
It removed liability. There were so many widows filing wrongful death suits for their husbands dying on the football field that they said, we're creating this term so that we are legally not responsible for the death of this player.
It's kind of fun.
That is where that term originated.
Yeah.
It was not a fun slogan.
It's dark.
It is very dark. It is very dark. And honestly, it's crazy because 70 years ago when all of this happened, when this became a full-time deal, the framework still looks almost identical. And it's mind-blowing because now, I mean, they were trying to navigate the beginning of TV. Now we've got hundreds of $1 million contracts for TV deals. We got revenue, we got streaming, we got this, that, the other, and we're still operating on the same framework that was put on, pen to paper in the 1940s, in the 40s. It's crazy.
So to sum it up, we're not a big NCAA.
No, we're not. We're officially not an NCAA podcast. To wrap up the basketball talk here, we're going to jump in, maybe talk a little bit of bracket before we go into baseball. KJ Buffen entered the transfer portal this week. That was big news. You got to think that was not going to happen if the Rebels had made the tournament. However, with the NIT, I think KJ Buffen, I think that he's been at odds with Kermit Davis for some time now, and I think he finally was ready to pull the plug. Averaging 8.8 or 8.4 points per game this season in 22 and a half minutes. Played good basketball for the Rebs over the last couple of years. Really did at times. And him combined with the potential absence of Devontae Shuler this weekend, that's 23.7 points per game the Rebs are missing right there from two of their better players, from their leading scorer in Devontae Shuler and one of their better all-around Swiss Army knife kind of guys in KJ Buffen. As I said, Rebels are the top seed in this tournament. I wouldn't be surprised if they fall out game one to Louisiana Tech. Really and truly. You're missing two of your better players. The program seems to be in this weird state right now. You had Kadeem C. and Demencio Vaughn enter the portal, just leave the team before the SEC tournament. You had Sean Robinson enter the portal 2 weeks ago. And there seems to just be this sense of –
So how many players is that? C.
That's four. That's four right there.
Vaughn, Sean,
well,
Buffen.
That's four who have left. Shuler, 5, missing. Mother's having surgery in Las Vegas. The team left this morning for Frisco, Texas, where they're playing this game.
Yeah, I'm not counting him in that.
No.
He's been an emergency.
Exactly. And so we're excited. This was here. I'll just read this. This was Kermit Davis' quote from yesterday. He said, "Jarkel Joyner's going to have to play a lot of point guard for us. Matthew Morrell and Austin Crowley's minutes will go up. I think Luis Rodriguez will take a big jump, and Romello White will have to play like the best player in the tournament, which he's capable of." Matthew Morrell, averaging 4 points a game this year, hasn't come along and developed as quickly as we'd liked. However, we're not quitting on him yet. The guy's still uber talented. You got Austin Crowley, who played a lot more last year than I think he has this year, only averaged 2.4 a game. He showed some flashes of good shooting and good athleticism, but like we said, just hadn't played as much. You're going to need to see some big minutes out of Robert Allen, some big minutes out of Sammy Hunter to kind of fill these gaps because, like we said, we're missing 5 guys out of the original roster here and 5 guys that were playing basketball for us 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Playing basketball for us 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Suiting up, chipping in minutes.
I don't count Sean Robinson.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
And you made a good point before. It's kind of exciting too because this is potentially a sneak peek at what we're seeing next year.
Yeah, because we have to start preparing for life without Devontae Shuler, which, for better or for worse, I mean, Jarkel Joyner probably will play point next year. Maybe Murrell, who knows? But we kind of saw what Jarkel Joyner is capable of against LSU. Very exciting. I mean, he needs to gain some consistency. And, I mean, it's going to be his team next year. He really needs to step up and kind of be that guy. And so I'm really excited to see how he does this year. Matthew Morrell, look, he's a phenomenal player. Here's the thing. And this is kind of leaking into what is going on within the program. I am afraid that Kermit Davis is rubbing these players the wrong way.
I think that's
now. I mean,
that's probably what's happening.
To be real frank with you, I think if 10 years ago, I don't think these players are leaving.
No.
15, probably hell, even 5 years ago, these players are leaving. But the way that sports has become in the last couple of years, and to be real honest with you, I attribute it to LeBron James. I'm serious.
Okay.
I think LeBron James has changed sports forever. When he was the first.
I'm interested to see where you're going.
Yeah, he was the first superstar, really, that basically did whatever he wanted in terms of like, I'm tired of playing here, I'm going to go somewhere else. And now players have done it, obviously, but he kind of made it cool. Like ever since he started, I'm going to leave Cleveland and I'm going to go to Miami.
The big three, the decision on
exactly.
ESPN. I mean,
so then what happens? Kyrie Irving starts doing that kind of stuff.
Kevin Durant does.
Kevin Durant. Then you got your Le'Veon Bell situation, and then next thing you know,
players started to realize that they have more power than they had ever.
Players start going, wait, I can kind of like LeBron James. Like there was all these reports like LeBron James owned whatever team he was at. The coach just said, whatever you want, LeBron. And players start seeing that and going, huh. Now there's no factual, there's probably somebody that's going to be like, well, Larry Bird did it first. Like, okay, whatever. I wasn't alive.
We weren't alive. We're 22.
But like the way that sports have changed since LeBron James started kind of hopping around, I mean, he doesn't stay anywhere longer than 3 years these days. Same with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard started going like, okay, let's do this. Players that were consistently just like, even guys like Russell Wilson, that are starting to be like, you know what? No, I am sick and tired of getting my crap ate because you don't have an offensive line. Yeah. And then, Le'Veon Bell, holding out, all these like, it's becoming okay and cool to kind of basically terrorize your organizations into doing whatever you want them to do. And I think you're starting to see this in, players starting to leave college early to go, get their money. And I guess it makes me sound like an old fart that's like, but there's no respect for the game anymore. There's no respect for like, this is the team that took a chance on me. And I owe it to them. And obviously, it's easy for me to say sitting here, whatever. But like, unless it's like a class, like unless you're just like you cannot continue with whatever coach it is, I'm of the opinion that you should do a Drew Brees. You should do a Michael Jordan, where you basically just
you ride it till the wheels
fall off. Brett Favre, stick with Green Bay, and then he retired and moved on. Whenever
they retired and came on, and then retired.
But Eli Manning, he wanted to retire a Giant. I respect the hell out of people that are like, I want to sign a one-day contract so I can retire a Panther or I can retire a Titan, whatever it is. And because it's just, it makes it such, I don't know. I just really like that, the respect of the organization, the respect of whatever. And that's the thing. Sports are different now. Players are not going to put up with not playing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and one of the things I was going to say, I think we can attribute a lot of the change, especially in college sports, to the transfer portal.
Yeah,
I mean, right. I was reading today. At this point, right now, at this point last year, there were 300 college basketball players in the transfer portal. There are currently over 500.
Yeah,
in the portal. And players understand that they can transfer. Mm-hmm. They understand that if they're not in a great situation, they skip out of town, they go somewhere and they find a situation that they like better. They go find a place where they can play. They go find a coach they like better. More times than not, they're just going to find a place they can play. Right. And when it comes down to it, it's gotten to the point now where, a hard-ass coach like a Kermit Davis, a hard-ass like Nick, granted, that's Nick Saban. I'm not even going to include him. That's a different level. If you go to Alabama, you know what you're getting yourself into, and you're expecting that. But the days of the just – all over you, grinding, just, people say you don't get a coach isn't all over you. Coaches are all over you because they care about you and because they think you can actually play. If coaches didn't care about you, they wouldn't say anything. They would let you do whatever, show up late, not give full effort, whatever it be. And I think sadly the days of guys like Kermit Davis, because it's well known that Kermit Davis is, he's one of the best dudes in the world. I'm from Nashville. We're from Nashville. I remember, I've got some people that have known him since he was at Middle Tennessee. He's a fantastic guy, an amazing guy. But he's a hard-ass coach. Yeah. He's a hard-ass coach. And I think now, with how easy it is for guys to just skip town and move on to the next best opportunity,
they're not going to put up.
They're not going to sit around and put up with Kermit Davis trying to just, whatever, however they view it in their mind, however they view that coaching style and the method of playing time and things like that. Guys just aren't willing to sit around and just wait for that to work out. Yeah. Guys are saying, I'm taking it off. I'm taking it off.
Yeah. To your point about the transfer portal, like, I don't know where I sit with it because, man, it makes for great television. Like, Justin Fields leaving Georgia, coming to Ohio State, all this different stuff. Like, it makes for really good television.
It adds a completely new element to recruiting.
Yeah, it is really bad for sports. It's because you got, it does. It limits your ability to really build. It limits your recruiting. You basically have to continue to recruit the entire time after you have the kids. Like, let's say I'm a coach and you're a recruit. I have to sign you. Then I have to keep you here.
Yeah.
Because
I would argue
the way it is now, like in hypothetically KJ Buffen's case, he's not going to take it anymore. He's not going to sit here, Hadim C, he's not going to sit here and take Kermit, bitching at him and, not playing him. And, and it makes it, it's, I don't know. The transfer portal is a conversation for another day. But, it's just, I think that the way that we are in sports today and really in our world today, I just think that the way Kermit Davis coaches isn't going to work as much because here's the problem that this is why I think Matthew Morrell is not playing very well. He's playing scared, which and not in a way like, oh, I'm so scared of what he's going to do. He's going to hurt, whatever. I'm not saying it's not like Kermit Davis is going to give
he's not
going to
like backhand it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, time to get your, post-game punishment. But
yeah.
Here's the thing, if you make a mistake, you get pulled. And here's the thing, like that sounds really good on paper, and I loved it for a while. I was like, yes, like we don't want to put up with mistakes. Mm-hmm. But the thing is you don't allow a player to get into their rhythm. Matthew Morrell makes a great shot, and then he jacks up a bad three, and then turns the ball over, and he gets pulled out.
Yeah,
and he doesn't really get a chance to kind of work through it. Mm-hmm. You can call a timeout, be like, hey, look, this is what you need to do. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. Fix it. Boom, go. Yeah. Instead they're playing like, oh crap, I don't want to mess up. Oh crap, I don't want to mess up. And then it really, it goes back to the Wayne Gretzky quote. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Michael Scott quote.
Exactly. You're right. I apologize. You're not taking shots because you're scared you're going to miss them because you're getting pulled. And that's a style that I don't think is going to work. I wish that he would maybe not do that as much. Mm-hmm. But nobody doubts that Kermit Davis is a good man, but he's a hard coach. And to be honest with you, I'm okay with that to an extent. You see the huge difference between Lane Kiffin and Matt Luke. Lane Kiffin's not the nice guy that's going to pat you on the back for competing with Alabama. He famously said, I'm not here to say whoop-de-doo, you competed, we want to win games. Yeah. Meanwhile, Matt Luke is like, oh, moral victories, you guys did a great job.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, so it's just, but you have to find that happy medium. And that's, so for people that are like, oh my gosh, why are all these people leaving, blah, blah, that's probably why. I think it's that Kermit Davis is a little hard on players. He makes them feel like they can't really make mistakes, and I don't know.
Yeah, well, and one of the other things too, when it comes to these hard coaches, Nick Saban is the prime example because everybody knows how he is. He's not even necessarily a nice guy. He's great. He's a nice guy.
I like a lot of his
he's just dry. He's just dry. But one of the things is when it comes to this kind of
style, he doesn't have time for you. It's like he's a business.
I got better things to do.
Yeah.
One of the things that's with this hard ass style of coaching though, you got to put in. You got to have results.
Yeah.
People, like I said a minute ago, people that sign to go play at Alabama understand that they are going to get, probably a year or two, unless you're a stud right off the bat, you're probably going to have a year or two of getting, your clock clean over and over at practice, getting coached just hard. But the thing is, in both of those years, you're going to become a better player, and you're probably going to win the national championship at least once or twice.
Oh, and you're probably going to go with millions and millions.
Right. And versus, say, for example, a Kermit Davis coach, you come to Ole Miss, guys who signed on a couple of years ago, maybe, you come to Ole Miss, we've been a 500-ish team. We've been just pretty good for the last couple of years. And guys don't want to sign on to just be pretty good. They want to sign on for the promise of a national championship, being a first-round pick, being 10 times a better player they were than when they came in, competing against the best guys in the country every single day in practice. Yeah. And the thing is like I said, with that kind of hard-ass style of coaching, you have to turn in the results in order for people to be able to buy into it fully.
And I think KJ probably would have left a little bit earlier if the season continued to go south.
I wouldn't.
But I think the fact that we were had a shot at the tournament, he was like,
and he was a key player.
Yeah, he was like, I'll keep, I'll put up with it because we may make the tournament.
Yeah.
And you don't make the tournament, so you say, I'll put up with more, or I'll
get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah.
There it is. So, all right. So yeah, a lot of conversation right there about basketball. Kind of sum it all up. Rebs get snubbed. Essentially, are the 69th best team in the country in the eyes of the committee, and unfortunately, we'll be playing in the NIT, which. Oh, well. They play Louisiana Tech tomorrow night at 8 o'clock on ESPN2, Frisco, Texas. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rebels drop that game if Devontae Shuler is unable to play. But like we said, it might be a good glimpse into the future, seeing some of the the guys that we're expecting to play more minutes in the coming years. So we'll kind of see. We really don't know. All right, so we went a little bit longer there than we planned to. So we're gonna hop into baseball here to close out the show. So last week or so of Rebel baseball has been weird. Just to put it blunt, it's been weird.
The last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but especially this. The thing is, it's been weird, but they've still been able to win more games than not.
Right.
The last couple of weeks, Rebels win Friday and Saturday, and then lose on Sunday at Louisiana Monroe. Then they come back. They're supposed to play a Wednesday, Thursday against Louisiana Monroe or Louisiana Tech in Ruston, Louisiana. They play Tuesday, Wednesday. They play the Tuesday game and get beat 13-1. The Wednesday game gets canceled because of all the crazy weather that was supposed to come through. And, I mean, I don't know how good Louisiana Tech is, but clearly
they're not a bad team.
They're not a bad team. I don't think they're a 13-1 over us team. But
we wore the gray jerseys.
I was going to say the gray jerseys are cursed. I think they look great, but they are cursed, and
they look fine.
So be it.
They're not the best.
I personally like it, but honestly, when it comes down to it, that game doesn't matter. The Louisiana Monroe loss doesn't matter. The Louisiana Tech loss does not matter because the SEC is what counts here.
Yeah.
The Rebels can lose those games, and honestly, they can lose more of these midweek games than they win at this point. But if they take care,
like that.
No, I wouldn't like it either. I'm not suggesting that by any means, but I'm saying they can lose more of those than they win, and if they take care of business in the SEC, it's okay because that's the teams they have to beat.
Right.
That's the teams they have to beat. And the other thing too. People, when you're going into, when you're going into regional baseball, super regionals, everything like that, trying to go to Omaha, you're looking at the win. You're looking at those, like I said, how they do against Bama, how they do against LSU, how they do against Vandy, how you do against Arkansas, Mississippi State this year. Everybody understands that you pitch young guys in midweek, and you bat 14 people that day, and you throw 7. I mean, the Rebels pitched 6 guys against Louisiana Tech. Granted, they were getting smacked, and they needed to pitch that many people, but. Everybody
are trying to figure out what works, what doesn't.
Everybody understands that.
Throw some guy in the lineup, see how he does.
You're not throwing Doug Nikhazy on a Wednesday against Louisiana Tech.
Right.
I mean, everybody understands you're not putting your primo guys out there, and that's just the way it goes. And so, like I said, those. I mean, I think no skin off our back there. Obviously, you don't want to lose those games, but it really doesn't matter. What does matter is this weekend. SEC play starts. It's here. It's time to go. Rebels had, big week. We've talked about State Farm Showdown, got some big wins, bumped them up here to where they're sitting at number 4. Honestly, just to be, completely honest, I don't think we're the 4th best team in the country. I think we're a good team, but the numbers don't lie here. I'll read you this. So as of last weekend in the SEC, the Rebels ranked 7th in the conference in hitting based on batting average, 9th in pitching based on ERA, and 13th in defense based on errors. In comparison, Auburn is 4th in hitting, 12th in pitching, and 4th in fielding. Based on those right there, advantage Auburn, minus the pitching.
Yeah,
minus the pitching, but it's advantage Auburn, which Auburn's unranked at the moment. But when you look at their schedule, their losses, so they're 11-5 coming into this game, with losses to a ranked Oklahoma team, 2 to a ranked Boston College team, and then loss to Baylor and a loss to Little Rock. So this team is So this team, I mean, I think that they're probably a little bit better than people think. I think that they're kind of just getting, muddied up in a very, very competitive and very, very good SEC this year. I mean, they could be the 7th best team in the SEC and be the 15th best team in the country this year.
Right.
Which is the crazy part about this. But this is a big weekend. This is a big weekend because this is not the number 4 team versus the unranked team that everybody expects, where number 4 is going to sweep them.
Yeah,
that's not what this is at all. This is SEC play. This is rivals. This is your first big test.
These are the best teams in the country.
Yeah,
essentially.
We said it a couple weeks ago. The College World Series, Omaha has to come through the SEC this year. Whoever's going to hoist that trophy in Omaha, it has to come through the SEC at some point.
Well, I would pick a bottom-tier SEC team probably over a Big Ten team, of like a middle-of-the-pack, upper echelon Big Ten. That's just how good the SEC team is. And it's like
3 of the top 4 teams in the country are in the SEC West.
The top 5 teams are all SEC.
Yeah.
But this is, this weekend is okay. Like, this weekend is sort of put up or shut up for Ole Miss, but it's also not like it's not do or die. But here's where Ole Miss needs to start getting rolling.
You might as well
want to start Gunnar Hoagland honestly is probably one of the best pitchers in the country. I really believe that.
Yeah.
So he needs to ball out. But here's the thing about Ole Miss. And this feels like it's been a problem forever. Like Ole Miss has always been really good at getting on base. We're probably what are we on hits?
7th
in the SEC. Oof. Well, because
that's just batting average. That's just batting average.
Okay, yeah.
Hit by pitch, walks, errors.
Yeah. We get on base. The problem we've always faced is we can't score them. That's the problem. Like
we talked about it.
Texas,
we've had trouble piecing together hits at the right time.
In Texas, when we got on base, we scored. Like that was the best baseball that I think Ole Miss has played in a long time. Like that, we looked so complete.
Mm-hmm.
But now we can't seem to get things together. Like we can hit really well, but our defense struggles with errors. Or then our pitching is really great, we can't hit, or we hit great, we can't pitch. Like it's just.
I really don't think since Arlington that everything has clicked together the same way. And the thing is
we've had games like
we're still
first game against Belmont, first game against ULM, first game against whoever it was.
The Rebels are still 13-4, which makes me optimistic because like I said, I think at 13-4 we still have not had everything click since that first weekend.
Yeah,
and we're still the 4th best team in the country with only 4 losses. But the thing is that's all rainbows and sunshine. But it's got to click now. It's got to start clicking because, like I said, we're getting in. I mean, it's legit now. These are the games that matter. This is when you got to do it. Like you said, it's put up or shut up, and it's not like it has to happen this weekend.
But we need to start seeing like improvement on defense. Defense has been the thing that's struggled. We've had a lot of bad errors.
3 errors against Louisiana Tech the other night.
Yeah, how many against? We had at least 4 against.
I can't remember. I can't remember any others.
The game where we won walk off with Kevin Graham's ULM, we had I think 4 errors, and then we probably had a lot the next day. I mean,
13th in the SEC in defense. That's errors
that's
divided.
Not very good. That's second to last if you're counting at home.
For those of you back there,
like that needs to improve. And the thing is like, look, baseball's such a weird sport. Like, I don't understand it, and I can't pretend like I understand it because in most sports, the best team usually kind of pulls it out.
Yeah.
But in baseball, it's not about the best team. It's about the team that just plays the best.
Like, Ole Miss is a better baseball team than Louisiana Tech.
Yeah.
But they got beat 13-1 the other night.
Exactly.
It happens.
And that's the thing is baseball. Baseball is one of the few sports that's relying on so many different aspects. Like basketball, you just kind of do it. Football, like if your defense is bad, your offense better be pretty good. But like you can still win games with a bad defense. With baseball, there are so many factors that are attributed to like being good, and you've got to be really good at hitting.
Like we said,
also got to be good at
it's got to click.
You've got to be really good at scoring. You've got to be because there's a difference between really good at hitting and really good at scoring. And Auburn's a good team. I think winning 2 out of 3 would be phenomenal for Ole Miss.
I think that obviously we want to shoot for a sweep, but I think if the Reds take 2 or 3, we can hang our hats on a good weekend because, like I said, I think this Auburn team is better than most people are giving them credit for.
Yeah, and I honestly wonder though, and there's no proof to back this up, but this is just kind of something I'm wondering. I wonder if Ole Miss has just been kind of waiting on SEC play. Like Hopefully. They're kind of limping in SEC play. Like we're tired of this. We want to start playing good teams. And, you wonder if Tech, they're, this game got canceled. Oh, we got Auburn this weekend. We're, trying to figure out who's going to pitch for Nikhazy. And then you just kind of don't show up. Or like ULN, you go, we've got it. We won the series. We got Auburn next week where the SEC play starts. You wonder how much of it is that. I don't know how that works. But, I'm very interested to see how Ole Miss comes out this weekend and what kind of baseball they play.
Yeah. Me too. It'll be a big weekend at Swayze. To wrap it up here, a couple of few little nuggets. So Doug Nikhazy still out with the chest strain. I think it's a pec injury. He's still out. He'll be out this weekend. We're expecting Drew McDaniel to pitch again in his place on Saturday. So he did. So the rotation, if it was the same as last weekend, it would be Gunnar Hoglund Friday night with Drew McDaniel Saturday and Derek Diamond still on Sunday. Peyton Chatagnier came back last week. A lot of people we said last week we were not expecting him to play until this Auburn series this weekend. But against Louisiana Monroe over the weekend, he goes 5 for 12 with 2 runs. Solid showing, especially coming back from a few weeks' absence. It's good to see him coming back, and especially to see that bat come back.
Tim Elko is still good.
Yes, and Tim Elko is still very, very good. We can confirm Tim Elko is still hitting beach balls at the plate.
We did the math.
Yeah, we carry the 1. He's really good. Yeah. Couple little notes on Auburn before we wrap up the show here. So Josh Hall, former Rebel, transferred to Auburn this past season.
Where did he go when he left Ole Miss? Because he didn't go to Auburn, I don't think. Or did he? Did he go straight to Auburn?
Yeah, he was. Okay. If I remember right, he was.
That sounds right.
I'm almost 100% positive he played for Ole Miss last year. Anyway.
No, No, I'm pretty sure he transferred before last year.
I can't remember.
Like,
He never played much for the Rebels.
Yeah.
But he's hitting .394 for the Tigers this year. He'll be playing right field this weekend, which means he will almost certainly have a terrible weekend. And I mean, you'd have a terrible weekend as being the right fielder anyway, but especially being a former Rebel. Poor guy. He better beg and plead to get moved to left field for the weekend because it's going to be tough for him out there. But at least he knows what to expect.
He's seen it. He knows what right field's capable of.
Oh, yeah, he knows what it's capable of, and he's about to get full force of it.
Yeah.
Opening
I bet he's kind of loving it. I would love it, personally.
You love it if you play well. You love it if you play well, but if you start messing up, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
But
your confidence gets rocked because you just have to stand there and hear thousands of people yelling behind you. People going through your social media, finding your mom's name, finding your girlfriend and her.
That stuff's uncalled for. But I feel like I bet he's probably looking forward to it. And then, like, once he starts getting out there and may not play very well, or if he does.
That's the thing. Like I said, if he's playing well, it's all fun and games because he can just kind of go, all right, yeah, good stuff.
495.
Exactly. I'm gonna hit 2 bombs on Saturday, and we'll see how you like that. Other little note here.
I'll sign it for you.
Right, exactly. Other little note here. So Tyler Miller, that's the bat to watch for the Tigers this weekend. Hitting .433 on the season, 6 homers, 26 RBIs, 17 runs with a .446 on base percentage. He leads the team in all those categories except for runs. That right there, that's better than any Rebel right now, minus Tim Elko. I'd say I'm not gonna lie, I don't even know what Tim Elko's slash is right now, but
he's got
home
runs. I think.
Yeah, I think he does. I think you're right because he's hit like 8 in the last week and a half or something.
He may tie him for home runs.
Yeah.
That's hard to.
Good grief.
Yeah,
here we go. 2021. Tim got 7 bombs, 24 RBIs, 351 average. Yeah. So this
around there.
He's got him in everything but home runs. But yeah, so that's the bat to watch this week. Again, for Auburn. As we said, it'll be an exciting weekend. I think we're about done here. We thank everybody for tuning in here today to the Flagship Football Show. Been a good show. Rebels play Louisiana Tech tomorrow night. Frisco, Texas, 8 p.m. on ESPN2. Tune into that. It'll be a shell of the team we've watched all season, but it's still Rebel basketball, and it might be the last game we get to watch this year. Other than that, big weekend at Swayze. Rebs need to take at least 2 of 3 from Auburn, get things rolling here, and prove why they're the 4th best team in the country. So from all of us here at the Flagship Football Show, the Rebel Walk, Mark Rogers, Stephen Willis, everybody else, we thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Oh, yeah. Clean up here. Gotta cut the video. All right.